Good morning.
GM.
Happy week 14. We've got a fun little for a 10 game slate because we have 6 teams on bye in what's maybe the first week of some fantasy playoffs. And if that's the case for your league, then talk to your commissioner because he's an idiot. But happy 10 gamer for the NFL.
Yeah. It's an ugly slate, but I feel like it's the same as last time we had this, where it's like we started off like it's a 10 gamer, this slate sucks. And now like I'm just fully on board. It's the best slate of the season.
Oh yeah, I mean every slate it's kind of a bit at this point where every slate is the best slate of the season, but this one's definitely up there because chalk concentrates no matter what, but this is like maybe the least consensus week of all time as far as like good plays and chalk and stuff.
Yeah.
With the exception of that one Vikings Lions game at Coors Field.
Love Coors. Always have.
Are we playing every team's number 2 running back? I don't know that I will, but there's a lot of number 2 running backs that are going to be kind of popular this week, so that sets up for fun things. But we'll get into it, see if we can spend the same amount of time talking about fewer games this week. Starting at quarterback. Quarterback is like kind of flat. Like the top tier are in not the best of spots necessarily. Like normally people are pretty pumped to play Josh Allen, Mahomes and Hurts, but none of them are really in what seem to be competitive games, at least on the surface, at that 8K plus range. Then you have Burrow at 7K in what may be a pretty decent game environment. We'll see. It depends how competitive you think Cleveland is going to be. And then you have kind of Geno, Goff, Kirk Cousins, like, I don't know, Huntley, whatever. I don't think any quarterback is going to be super high owned. All week, I thought it was going to be Goff at the cash game QB, but Geno Smith actually is now projecting to be the best value. Any QBs that are like jumping off the page to you, or anyone that I didn't mention that's in play for you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've talked every week for a long time that I don't play cash, so I don't really think in terms of that. But I think Geno, bottom line for cash, I think paying for a quarterback is not a good idea in weeks like this where, when Goff and Cousins have that high total game and, they're both such pass heavy offenses and both really bad pass defenses, though Detroit's defense has actually gotten quite better.
It has.
I just don't think you can pay for QB on this slate if you're going to play in cash. But if you're not going to play in cash and you're going to roll out your lotto tickets, I think there's a lot of fun on this slate. I think, why not play a little Russ? I mean, why not play a little fucking Jalen Hurts?
Oh yeah.
Does this say 8% or 12%? 8%.
8.
Yeah. I mean, the people will not play Jalen Hurts. I don't understand.
I think 8% is closer to a ceiling than what it's actually probably going to be.
I think it's 5.
Yeah, I could see it being 5.
And then other options, if you want to get cute with, Trevor Lawrence, if he's healthy.
Oh boy.
Brock Purdy, aka White Trey Lance. We're going to get into it.
Yeah, White Trey Lance has a rushing prop of like 8.5. So if you feel really good about that take, I mean, I know sports betting is not legal in your state, but if anyone ends up getting influenced and psyopsed into thinking that Brock Purdy's White Trey Lance and they're in a legal betting state, go feel free to smash the alt overs on that.
I'm going to have to reply to that. Justin Fields had rushing props of like 30 yards for a while. And, his shoes are in the Hall of Fame from rushing in a game. So let's just get serious.
Fair enough. Yeah. All right. I'm very serious. GM to everyone. But I'll put in Goff for now at cash. Remains to be seen if I'm going to play cash. It's I actually might play cash because it's actually not one of those where everyone is going to play the same team unless something drastically changes between now and lock. So I think for cash, you probably plug in Goff and then you get up to like Geno, or if for some reason you have enough for Burrow, you can make it work and more seeds. Like it's pretty open and you can play because there's only one game. This game, the Detroit Minnesota game, is at 51 and everyone else is at 46 or lower. There's no like massive smashes, and I don't think anyone is going to be super high owned. Maybe Goff is a candidate to get to like 15, but even then, it doesn't scare me off. And we'll talk about like stacks, but like guys like Huntley are like it's just too low, right? At 5%. Even Dak, like we didn't even talk about. Again, it's not a great game environment, but it's a 30-point total, and he's going to be single digits. So quarterback, you have a license to play who you want. We'll kind of get to the stacks as we go. Running back, it's not. Is this like zoomed in enough? Can people see? I'll try.
Looks good to me on the YouTubes.
All right,
the
so
YouTubes.
So Joe Mixon, Derrick Henry, and Dalvin are in that top kind of tier, and I would probably throw Pollard and Swift into that as well in this top 5. Mixon, Henry, Cook as far as like the high price, but there's question marks around all of them, right? Usually like in this value column that I have, like a super sharp, like a super good play is like a 1.2 or up to 1.3. If you remember Ramondre Weeks or Pollard, like first time he was had the backfield to himself, like so like let's be clear, like running back is not nearly as good as it was, let's say 2, 3, 4 weeks ago. But I think there are still plenty of good plays, but you can get a little off the board and not sacrifice as much as normal, which makes it a really fun weekend running back, in my opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think we've dealt with a number of weeks where like the chalk ownership has been more so determined by the pricing structure, like the exact way that the pricing worked out. And at least I hear that that's the case this week on FanDuel, which is doing weird stuff. But at least for DraftKings, I feel like that's not the case here. Like if you believe that Mixon and Derrick Henry and Tony Pollard's spots are what they are, then you can definitely play them at their prices and their, varying range of prices from kind of expensive to super expensive. And then, like there is a world where Dante Foreman on a slate like this is 25% if things are just a little bit, if things are priced slightly different and stuff, you know what I mean? Like he's in such a crazy smash spot at 5,400. But because we have so many options with actual projections and spots, we're not forced into a 25% Dante Foreman. If you want to play him, go ahead and play him. He's what, 12%?
Yeah.
I'll take the over on that. But it's close. I mean, he won't get over 15, 100%.
Yeah, so I agree. Like I think
great.
ownership is going to be fairly capped because there's not any super smash guys, which is fun, right? Because I don't know if anyone gets above 25%. Maybe like in small fields, I can actually see DeAndre Swift and Tony Pollard getting steamed closer to 30%. The thing with Pollard, so Pollard and Zeke, right? Like this, I think we have to talk about this because JM didn't do a stream this week, didn't do the Pete stream because that probably would have covered the Pollard Zeke combo because he likes getting all the points. I think Pollard, it's very possible, in my opinion, one of these guys is just going to go way over. And I think one of them comes in slightly under as far as their points, right? Like Pollard and Zeke, like their base projection combined is like 31, which feels kind of low with a 31 point team total. But, Zeke, if Zeke gets 2 touchdowns, he's going to be the guy you need. And if he doesn't, then I think Pollard's going to be the guy you need. Like it's hard to see a game where Dallas doesn't have one of these running backs that you're gonna really wish that you had.
I think the real issue that you and I know that the optimizers and the projections don't know is that like the projections are thinking that CeeDee Lamb's an alpha and Schultz is a decent tight end and that Dallas might have an offense. But we know that this is the Zeke and Pollard show. This week.
Especially this week, I think,
This week it's the Zeke and Pollard show.
Would you play them together? Like, I guess you would have to define small field for me. I still wouldn't because I do think you are capping some sort of ceiling. I'd rather take a stand. And even if that stand is with Zeke, who's like going to be lesser owned, and I think Zeke is going to get squeezed in smaller field because people won't play them both together.
So the answer is I don't think so.
Yeah. I don't think so either. Like they could combine for 40 plus and you'll be happy at that price tag. But for them to get 40, like I think Pollard comes in at 25 and then Zeke gets 15. And you're going to be unhappy with one of them. You might be happy with the combo. You will be unhappy with one of them.
So, I mean, my take is a little slightly different. Like, I think that like ceiling wise or whatever on a slate like this with low scoring games and stuff, I do
It's true.
think that
Like not that standard.
structurally it's okay to play those two together, in my opinion, if it led to like significant leverage or but then I was told that other people do that, which I didn't know. And
I'll have to
so
look,
if
man.
you're
I
not the
don't see it.
galaxy brain dude that is doing it, then I do not want to do it with other people, you know? Like
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be like less than 1% of the field, but I'd much rather like the thing with Zeke is like Swift is cheaper, ETN's like the same price, Pacheco's cheaper, Foreman, Miles Sanders, Damian Pierce. Like in all likelihood, one of them is going to beat Zeke, right? I
yeah.
don't know that you can guess confidently which one, but that's the thing with this slate is there's so many options, right? Um, but yeah, speaking about Mixon specifically, right? There, like his first game back, he was out for like what was it, like 3 weeks with a concussion, which is quite rare. At least it was at least two.
It was two in a bye week or
Yeah, so you have to imagine if he's back that he's not going to be like they're not going to just roll him back. I mean, concussion's kind of all is binary, right? He's either cleared or he's not cleared.
right.
The projection bakes in 14 carries for him, which would be quite like the projection that's in here accounts for Samaje Perine having earned a bit more base work than it happened pre Mixon concussion. So with that, like I think Mixon definitely has like that touchdown upside in that good game. Do you like the big dog at ownership this week?
Um I'm playing some big dog at ownership this week because I gotta support my bags. But no, I don't like him per se because there's that age old thing in DFS, right? Like you
Yeah,
play King Henry when he's not chalk and he smashes, and when he is chalk, you don't play him. But he also has crushed Jackson. Everybody knows all the stats. He dominates Jacksonville, blah blah blah. But also like he's been inefficient lately. Is he the same guy? Tennessee's offense looks a bit different without Traylon Burks out there.
yeah,
Fortunately,
I
this
can see that.
time is with Tanny without Burks, which I do think is quite different than no Burks, no Tanny, which is what I mean, like Malik Willis to Robert, So I think
Yeah,
they're in a better spot than otherwise, but the answer is I'm playing some Derrick Henry unwillingly. I do not like that ownership. I also
yeah,
do think that there's the potential for him to get squeezed. So my hope is that when I do play him, that I'm playing a 15% Derrick Henry because
yeah. I don't
people
know.
don't like to click it. Like there's just this thing. People do not like to click
Yeah,
it.
and,
So
and Dalvin is a guy that people haven't clicked all year either. So that's why I think Pollard and
right.
Swift come in higher because A, they're cheaper, and B, they're guys that people like to click. Um, as far as off the board, like I really like Miles Sanders at single digit ownership and a really good, what should be a good game environment or at least scoring environment, at least on the Eagles side. James Cook at 4,600 really unlocks a lot for your lineups because the standard build is going to be three or at least two running backs in that 6,900 and up. So James Cook really gets you off of the consensus punt receivers. And you could really, and if you want to get crazy, you could talk yourself into Rashad White, even though Lenny's back. Travis Homer's at 5K. And one of my sneaky favorites is actually quite bad play. J.K. Dobbins at the absolute stone minimum.
Oof. Okay, so we got to talk about this because you have your mouse directly on this 6.4%.
Oh yeah,
What do we think is real? Because that's not real. I
close to
think
10.
I think it's 12 to 18.
I think it'll be around 10,
Yeah.
10, 12. Yeah, for James Cook.
Okay.
At which point I think he's like pretty fine. If he was 6%, I'd want to smash that. 10 to 12, I think is fine.
Cool.
I don't think like I wouldn't say it's insane. Maybe as like you go up, and he's one of those guys that as you go up in stakes, he's like the consensus flip the build. I'll pay up for receivers because like if you want to play Justin Jefferson as an example, then you go from like you can get from Garrett Wilson, let's say, to Justin Jefferson by punting like Derrick Henry down to James Cook, right? So that's like an easy way to flip a cash build into like the stack. Um, I'll put in Henry here for now. We'll get back to it. I don't know if cash is like you can play two like three running backs or four receivers. It's kind of up in the air. So yeah, that's a lot of time on running back. We'll get into it more as we go through the games. Receiver, Amon-Ra is going to be close to 30%, and I don't even know if that's a bad play. His workload is just insane. Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson at the top end, and then there's a bunch of mid-range guys like Garrett Wilson, DJ Moore, Adam Thielen, and then all the cash teams are going to have one of these 3K punts that are like you're doing windmills if they get you 9 points, but you should probably be prepared for 4 or 5.
Yeah. Do we actually think that Dorsett, and what does Chris Moore have for ownership?
10ish.
Do we think that's true?
I do.
Yeah.
Because they all exist, which is nice.
Yeah. I mean, I get on the one hand, like, obviously Houston's going to get 0 yards, 0 points, 0, right? Like we talked about this. Like
there's a meme, by the way.
But apparently there's only 3 receivers that are going to play for Houston, I read. Chris Moore, Dorsett, and Amari Rodgers. And Amari Rodgers been there 2 weeks. So just on that alone, I just don't see how you don't play some Chris Moore or Philip Dorsett, especially when like the highest owned combination on the slate, I have to believe, is going to be Justin Jefferson and Amon-Ra St. Brown, right?
Yeah,
so
I'd agree with that.
At those ownerships, I'm very interested at 10%ish. I have a question, Easy. Are you going to play Stephon Diggs today?
He's not one of my first clicks, no. And I think that's probably like that's why you see him coming in at 10%. It's not that I'm like specifically scared of Sauce Gardner necessarily. I mean, I respect him. I think he's pretty good. I think the Jets defense is pretty good. So like this is a game environment that I'm not super into, and he's expensive. But Diggs and Josh Allen at a combined like 7% of teams feels like you probably should just like close your nose close your nose, whatever. Close your eyes, click it.
I just wonder, is the Sauce thing, like, people should know that Sauce doesn't just trail him, right? They played once, and I don't know. I don't know if it's coming from that, or I guess it's just because of the other spend ups. But fun slate. I mean, and then you can go down there to this, AJ Brown at 5%. I mean, my God.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys so I think Amon-Ra and Justin Jefferson are going to be the clear chalk. I think Garrett Wilson in that Steph Diggs game is going to be he's just priced too low. I know it's not a good matchup, but for his volume and his talent, he's just priced way too low. And DJ Moore in that game is actually pretty decent environment. Tyler Lockett wouldn't surprise me if he comes in higher because people are scared off of DK Metcalf being kind of questionable. There's ownership besides these top couple around 20, everyone's going to be 5 to 10% ish. So again, you can kind of do what you want. It's good. I was saying I think Hinton, Dorsett, and Chris Moore are going to be the consensus 3K guys.
Right.
Dorsett probably gets owned a bit more because he's actually 3K and the others are 3,400, but there's options, right? If you want to get different, Terrace Marshall is fine. I guess Visca in a way is kind of fine. You're probably going to talk me into Elijah Moore, and I'll talk to the people about Josh Reynolds if they want to lose money with me like they did on Thanksgiving. But
Elijah Moore, I am not playing Elijah Moore. How dare
you? Okay, you're just worried about Elijah Moore.
He exists.
Yeah. So I think for cash, it's Amon-Ra, it's Garrett Wilson. Amon-Ra is definitely locked. Garrett Wilson just works. I'll plug in Dorsett for now. We'll come back to this. Yep. So then tight end, it's Dulcich week again. I feel like we go 1 week on, 1 week off with Dulcich, where Dulcich is chalk, and he disappoints, and then the next week he's not chalk, and then he kind of goes off, and then vice versa. So 30% is a big number for a rookie tight end on an absolutely trash offense. I know what you're going to say as it relates to playing 30% on Greg Dulcich.
Yeah, I mean 30% rookie Greg Dulcich. You said it.
Yeah.
It's just one of those spots where you just literally click the X, or you make sure that it's in a weird lineup only, and you move the fuck along, because there is no world where 30% of the time Greg Dulcich smashes the slate.
No,
what I mean? It's not even close. It's 10% or less. So it's just a super bad play. in a vacuum. But of course, play lineups, not players, right? Like Blender
Yeah.
says, and there are lineups where you can fit him in, and he's a very nice piece because you're playing AJ Brown and Isaiah Hodgins, Mini, and stuff like that. Like
You're right.
in those types of lineups, why wouldn't you take the best projected tight end?
Yeah.
But
Like,
be very careful because he's going to
yeah.
be very, very
Yeah,
popular.
the Dulcich, is it Dulcich or Sitch, whatever. Greg on the Broncos. Playing him with like the Vikings stuff, like because his price really fits in. Like now you're playing a 2v2 versus the field to try and win $1 million, and that's just like a really tough way to get to the top of leaderboards. In smaller field, like it wouldn't surprise me to see Dulcich over 30%. Kelsey, I think, is going to be underowned because people are scared of this. Like Broncos, like are the Broncos going to push Kansas City? Like how much is Travis Kelsey going to actually need to do in this game? How much is Mahomes going to be pushed? So like that, I think is interesting because that's a price that is just like super uncomfortable. Then you have Hawkinson and Freiermuth are both like tight ends with actual ceiling because like everyone else on this list, and I guess with the omission of like let's say George Kittle, everyone else on this list, it's like if you get 10 points, you're like you think you're God if you get 10 points out of your tight end on a week like this.
Right. Chig, I'm sorry, Kaiden. I got Chig on the mind. Kaiden brings up getting Chiggy with it. Easy, are you gonna get Chiggy with it?
I'm gonna Galbraith myself off of Chig. So we should talk about this because it's funny because like how funny is it to see two Tennessee tight ends back to back ranked in the top 6 value. So like Chig, I think is going to be he's my top candidate for like I thought he was going to be 10%. How is he 25% owned? Especially as you go up in stakes because Chig is like by far the the first thing a fake sharp like us does is like I can't play 30% Greg Dulcich. Like let me go play 10% Chig, and then Chig ends up 25 and Dulcich ends up 30. So it's like you didn't really do anything. I like Chig, man. He's very talented. Traylon Burks is out. Tennessee like is gonna have to like they've talked about using him more. He's gotten 5 targets each of the last 2 weeks. Is like yards per route run. It's Alberto basically. He's the guy everyone wants to play and be early to. I don't know that he's a separator. Like if you can guarantee me Chig is at 12%, I want him. I just don't think it's going to be 12% in some of the contests I play. In the millie, I think he will be. In like things above the millie, like in your single entry stuff, I think he's going to be higher owned. So it's just like a consensus pivot type thing.
I really love that explanation because you nailed especially the fake sharp thing. But what you forgot is on this show, we're the real sharps. And we originally came in liking Chig because I've liked Chig for a few weeks. I've brought him up on this show. Sometimes I've gotten my mic cut, but we love Chig. But I do think you're exactly right. He's going to get steamed. He's the next guy up. And all that's changed is Burks is out, Chig is in. But again, it's Derrick Henry week. It's Derrick Henry offense. So what I've decided is to go further into the inception. We're playing Jordan Akins. We're playing Mitchie Wilcox. Their ownerships, their situations make absolutely no sense. And the fake sharps are not going to go click them. The real sharps are.
It's tough, man. I hate having like tight end defense deciding your week is just bad. And like I think that tight end is very unlikely to decide your week, right? Like even like if you fade, so Chig is projected for 7.5 points, but like I don't know, he's gonna get 2 to 4 a decent amount of time. He'll get like 8 to 10 some of the time, right? And he just like that's how you end up on like he has some ceilings that brings it up, but like many times like these guys at 3K, like half of them are going to score legitimately 4 points, and then the good ones are going to score 10. So like even if you get tight end totally wrong and someone gets tight end kind of right, you lose like 5 or 6 points. So I don't think you have to galaxy brain it completely. If you want to play Chig, like I do think Chig's a good play.
I have Chig.
So
about
I don't
12%.
want to. So Alex really doesn't like when we talk bad about the young players. Chig's good, right? Like I think Chig is going to be good, but it's just an ownership thing. I'll play him in the millie, and I'll probably be under in smaller fields. So I do think he's going to be steamed. For me, tight end, like, and I kind of say this a lot, is like I just want to play tight ends with my stacks as much as possible
Yeah,
because
I
it's
agree.
so hard. They score so few points. I'd rather just like if I'm gonna make a bet on a quarterback in a game environment, let me just attach a tight end to that, even if it's a bring back. So that's why I kind of like Bellinger and I like Noah Fant because those are games where I'm playing quarterbacks. Um,
That's why I like
and
Mitchie.
yeah, and like I wouldn't play Wilcox on non-Burrow teams. If you're playing
Yeah,
Burrow,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree with that. Yeah.
yeah. And then again, be remiss if we didn't mention George Kittle. It looks like he's getting like he was like 1 or 2%. I think 5% is about right. That's fine. Like his projection, he's not going to project well because um, all the weapons are healthy and it's Brock Purdy, et cetera, et cetera. But more than 1 out of every 20 times is George Kittle going to be a guy that you really want. And this is like 4,300 might be the cheapest he's been since like he was actually a rookie. Like there's no way that George Kittle has been like David Njoku, who I like a lot in that game environment too. But like, there's no way like talent and like historical ceiling that Kittle should be 4,300. He's less than
Oh
Dalton
my
Schultz.
God, I forgot. Thank God you saved me. Yes, I love Greg
Thanks for
Kittle.
tuning in.
Please play Greg Kittle.
Yeah. All right. We'll talk about the game.
4,300. My
Yeah,
God.
it's cheap. All right. So we'll start with the Jets at Buffalo. We've got a friend at this game, so I'll have boots on the ground as far as weather. He's
Ooh.
tailgating ready. I saw some snow in the parking lots in picture. I don't. We'll keep an eye on the total. It's 43 total for now. Buffalo favored by 10, 26.5 point team total for Buffalo is actually third on the slate. Garrett Wilson is going to be pretty chalky. I think you'll be able to get everyone else. Oh, and to finish up the cash thing, it's tough because like if you go pay down to Panthers defense and play Dalvin Cook to finish this team up, you can go down to like Steelers defense and play Tony Pollard. Like that's how I would finish it up. Some teams are also going to Cowboys defense, and then you could play like a receiver or something like that. So that's where I think cash is going to end up. But back to this game, Garrett Wilson is going to be chalk. Steph Diggs and Josh Allen are going to be pretty low. James Cook might get some like sneaky steam, but how do you see this game?
Yeah, so first off, I'm not playing any stacks from this game. I'm just not interested that much in this game environment as a whole. I know that there's not much wind, and that's all we should care about in terms of weather. According to the spreadsheets and the data.
Yeah.
But also, I like to sometimes put my fist in the ground a little bit. And it's December. It's AFC East football in Buffalo. It's cold as fuck. It's snowing and raining. I do think that the game is live to be just this ugly divisional game where, Buffalo's new thing is that they're really trying to run the ball. They're trying to get James Cook this ball. They still use Devin Singletary some. And then, I just feel like it's been weeks since Buffalo has been like, it's not that they're not succeeding, but trying to like just pump the ball down the field and score in 2 plays, stuff like we saw earlier in the season. I just think that they're trying to slow things down and just grind out wins and stuff. And then Mike White comes in and now the Jets want to throw the ball 50 times a game. And, it's like,
good.
Are they still going to try and do that this week? If so, I have re-added Garrett Wilson to my pool. I get it. He could just see crazy volume, but from a stacking perspective, I'm off this game. The only players in this game that I'm playing are James Cook and Garrett Wilson.
I wouldn't say that we're PG-13. I think YouTube makes me check off if my channel is for children, so I'm not going to joke about where else Ori's sticking his fist, but it's in the dirt, in the very hard Buffalo dirt. I wasn't interested in stacks in this game, but this is revenge week game, game week, right?
I like a good narrative.
Can I sell you on Josh Allen and team losing to the Jets earlier this week and then having their revenge game and they want to show out? It's a 26.5 total and people are not playing it that way, right? 43 is not a great game, but if Buffalo scores 26, unless it's like super spread out, there's a decent chance someone in this game you're going to want. So whether that's James, like Allen, Cook, Diggs with Wilson back, Gabe Davis at 5,300 is finally a fair price. Dawson Knox again, he's like, man, Dawson Knox has been so disappointing for you and probably about what everyone else expected in the world. So like it wouldn't surprise. Like the prices are fair for everyone here. Allen and Diggs
Yeah,
are like pricey, but that's going to make ownership low. And I think James Cook, um, in or not in stacks, like I like both. And I think I'd really only play Garrett Wilson on the way back.
yeah, yeah. I agree.
So I'm actually talking.
Maybe I'll throw one.
So,
Maybe I'll throw one in. Maybe I'll
yeah.
throw one in for the
And
boys.
Isaiah McKenzie too is pretty cheap. Like his role is continuing to be like pretty good. Like Shakir's not really getting in there. So McKenzie does some things for you at that price. Cleveland, Cincinnati, 46.5 total is number 2 on the slate, actually by a decent margin. Cincinnati, 5.5 point favorites with a 26 total. Cleveland, close to 21, which is not so bad for a team on the road. Nobody on Cleveland is going to get any ownership after last week's stinker, which probably brings a lot of happiness to you and most good people that don't like Deshaun Watson. But yeah, Burrow, Mixon, and Chase are going to be owned, and then there's many paths to play this game as a shootout or high scoring affair if you'd like.
Yeah, easy. I'm sure Deshaun Watson has figured it out after 1 week. I mean, he probably was hitting the VR right after last game and just like getting into the tape, just figuring it out, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm worried about this game. So I'm all over this game. I'm gonna play a ton of Joe Mixon. I think people are trying to psyops themselves into, oh, Samaje is actually good, and it's just like
Yes,
he isn't
kind of.
good. Like
Joe
he
Mixon.
plays that role. He plays that role exceptionally well. And when Mixon is out, the team schemes to that role perfectly well. So my hope is they've learned something, that Joe Mixon should be used exactly like that because he is the same guy.
Oh,
And
sure.
I think Joe Mixon is going to smash. I think the team learned from Samaje because when Samaje's in, they're like, okay, we're not doing the stupid Joe Mixon running plays where he gets tackled within 1 yard of the line of scrimmage because Samaje sucks. So they don't run those plays. And it's like, okay, so stop running those plays to Mixon. Basically, just give Mixon Samaje's jersey and do that, and he's going to smash. Like Joe Mixon is going to smash.
I'll
And
say,
then
yeah.
go
The
ahead.
thing,
Go ahead.
the thing with like the way you're describing it, like Mixon did have a legitimately
Right.
sick role before he got hurt, and I
Right.
don't even know if you want to call it getting hurt. He got concussed. Like
Right.
Joe Mixon had a sneaky, amazing role. Like he was getting like 4 or 5 targets a game and 20 plus touches, like 20 plus carries. So like the P Ryan, like Mixon had the P Ryan role. It's just a matter of, do you think, because P Ryan, like whether you like P Ryan or not, he did perform well, and the Bengals offense actually performed really well with him in. So did he earn more of a role in like base work? It like, because if you think he didn't, then Mixon has a lot of upside above this 19 points, and even at that, even with P Ryan getting some work, like Mixon is a pretty good play.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. And the first thing I'll say, you already touched on it. I mean, they adjusted Mixon's projection as if Samaje did earn a role, and he
Yeah.
still looks to smash on paper. And number two, Samaje already earned something, right? Because they gave him permission to lose the Super Bowl for them, and with everything on the line. So,
Well,
like,
I think
they've
last year
always
in the Super
they've
Bowl,
always
yeah,
liked Samaje. Like,
they do.
you know what I mean?
They always have.
They like the guy. So, is he live to get a few more touches than normal? Yes. Is he live to also not matter to Joe Mixon smashing the slate apart?
That I
Yes.
agree with. Yeah, I agree with that because I think Mixon, like, it's a 26 point total, and Mixon has like some of the best touchdown equity on the slate. And 6,900 is really not a lot to pay for a running back with legitimate 100 plus yard, 2 touchdown, and pass work upside.
Yep.
What about like the pass game? So like obviously, so like you're on Mixon, but are you on any of the Burrow, Chase? Like I think T
Yeah.
Higgins is going to be pretty low because Chase is going to be the guy people want to click. So I like T Higgins a lot too.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm playing a ton of Burrow. I think he's my number 4 owned quarterback. So I'm gonna play a lot of Burrow, and I'm gonna play him like every which way but lose. Like I'm literally gonna play him with Mixon and T Higgins. I'm gonna play him with
Yeah.
Chase and Higgins. I'm gonna play Mitch, Chase, Burrow, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I like that a lot. I think Cincinnati is gonna give them a beating.
Yeah, well, so we should start to think about like, do you force a bring back? Do you like a bring back? Who is your favorite bring back, and are you forcing one, or are you just like whatever fits?
I mean, I'm not sure you're ready for this. I mean, people want to do cute stuff, like really cute stuff, like play Houston receivers and play Kendall Hinton and things like that. But what they don't understand is that
Oh no.
David Bell is that guy.
Oh no. No, no. If Amari's
It is
out,
what it is.
if
He's my
Amari's
bring
out,
back.
if Amari's out, then David Bell is going to be 1% owned, and he's a good play. Um, but yeah, if Amari's in, I think I'd probably I'll do Amari, I'll do DPJ, and again I like Njoku too because of the hitting the running back, or sorry, not running back, hitting the tight end spot in your game stack. I really like
Yeah.
Njoku. Any Chubb, 3% owned.
No.
Correct.
I
Correct
feel
answer.
bad about it. I'm gonna hold on to my GPP Bro card though. I'm not giving it up, but no, I can't
Yeah,
cut that.
yeah. In Deshaun, he's not going to grade out well because he's actually trash. But I played Deshaun as accidental chalk last week, so I'm going to play one Deshaun lineup. Ask God for forgiveness
Stay
when I'm eating in
very
hell.
poor.
Yeah, yeah. If you like Deshaun at accidentally 12% last week, you should like him at 1% this week.
I
Maybe
would wait till
learn
next
something.
week and play him under 6K, but you do you,
Yeah,
baby.
that's true. It's true. Houston, Dallas, 44 and a half total. Dallas carrying most of that at 31. Houston projected to score under 2 touchdowns. But despite that, a lot of teams are going to have Houston players on them. And Dallas ownership is going to be kind of spread out because you have the Pollard Zeke thing. And I don't know how much they're going to have to pass in this game.
Yeah. So we'll get into it a little bit. Siebes kind of spoiled it just a little bit when we were talking about Chris Moore and Philip Dorsett being two of the only 3 receivers. So allegedly, these are the 3 receivers on your screen for Houston are the only 3 receivers that are going to be active today. I don't know if that's true, but I've heard that on other shows and other places. So, and I think the reason for that is I think 4 tight ends are active. And
Okay.
so this is where I'm going to give, shout out to my favorite, hand in the dirt guy, Evan Silva. He says Jordan Akins was a wide receiver. And when I
Sure.
look at Jordan Akins catch the ball, first of all, what a specimen that dude is.
Yeah,
He's a freak athlete. He's big. He's long. So they're saying that he's going to play, basically receiver from double tight end sets and stuff like that. And the other thing he said, or someone said, is that Chris Moore can only play out of the slot and Amari Rogers can only play out of the slot. So there's going to be times where Akins or Burkhead lines up outside and weird shit like that. So bottom line at 5% owned, which I thought it was going to be 1%, but I'm playing a lot of Dallas stuff. I do want to bring it back in some cases when I'm not playing Dallas D. So give me some Jordan Akins to get me off of 30% Chig. I'm saying I had 30% Chig. I kind of toned that down to 10% Chig, 10% Akins, 10% Mitchie, stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, we've had some sample of Houston without Nico and Cooks. If you remember, this actually sets up very similarly to that Eagles game, which was Thursday night, because Nico and Cooks were both out. If you remember, that was a Tegan Quatorino's come out game where he scored the first touchdown, even though he wasn't on. You weren't able to bet his first touchdown, so that was kind of tilting. So in that game, I think Dorsett and Chris Moore caught 3 or 4 passes and not a single other receiver caught a pass for Houston. So it wouldn't surprise me. So I don't want to double count the only 3 receivers are active for Houston because Houston is very live to complete 15 passes in this game. And 3 will go to running backs, 4 will go to Dorsett and Moore each. And then, tight ends get the rest of the slop. It's not sexy, but I do like the idea of Akins. And I think Dorsett and Moore, if I had to choose one, I actually do prefer Chris Moore because he does play some in the slot. And I think Dorsett is going to be I do think Dorsett is going to be fractionally higher owned because 3K versus 3,400. So if you can fit it, I would. And cash, you just, take the savings. Any interest on, so Dallas. So we talked about Pollard and Zeke. I really like the spot, obviously. And Cowboys defense I have plugged in here, 3,800. is like, so last week everyone kind of was dead to win, like win unless you had Cleveland's defense against Houston, which upon a deeper dive had 0 sacks. They just happened to score the ball 3 times. So people have FOMO of like, well, I never even considered playing a 3,800 defense, and now everyone is going to, like, 20% of the field is going to pay all the way up and play a chalk defense. So that's an interesting thing.
Yeah, those FOMO people really make me sick because some of us have paid for 3,500 to 4K defenses to get different in the
Mm-hmm.
past and stuff, just for
We're
a
not going to
leverage
get there this week
standpoint
with
and
it.
things like that. So 25% Dallas defense at 3,800. That's something. I
Yeah,
don't like that. I don't like
me
that one
neither.
bit.
Me
Especially
neither.
because I love Dallas's defense. Like I
Yeah.
love Micah. I love Diggsy. So I hate that they did this to us.
Yeah, it's tough, man. You have, like, they're chalk and expensive. Like, you have to be under the field.
Yes,
I think
Lewis.
you have to be, but like, legitimately, their projection is like, and I don't know. You people talk about how good we are at projecting defenses. Like,
You
I'll,
people.
yeah, but like, their projection is going to be like 10 points, which is more than like David and Joe, like the whoever's priced at around that price. So like, point per dollar, they're actually a good play.
Yeah.
But I think you can always fade a chalk expensive defense. Any interest in Dak and Lamb? I'll probably answer on your behalf and say no.
No, but I will say it's my worst nightmare. It's my biggest fear of this entire slate.
Yeah.
I was worried I was going to have a nightmare about it, which I didn't. So now I feel better. But
All right, that's good.
yeah, everybody's on these running backs. I'm terrified about a Dak stack getting there. Like, yeah, but it is what it is. Sometimes you just lose.
Yeah, and I think Pollard. I think I'm going to be over the field on both Pollard and Zeke. I won't play them together.
Yeah,
Zeke has
same.
the best 2 touchdown odds on the slate. I think it's like plus 350, so roughly 1 in 4 or 5. So like 20-ish% of the time he scores 2 touchdowns, and in those games you're probably going to want him. He's not like a lock. Like, he could eat, like we talk about, like I joke with you, like he gets 2 touchdowns and he still isn't a lock. Like, I don't know, he gets like 60 yards and two
Easy,
touchdowns. He will
easy.
probably he'll help you. He's not going to be the reason why you win, but he'll definitely help you
Listen,
in
they
those
they
games.
have a Salvation Army pot. We're going to be just fine. Play
Yeah,
Zeke, fire him out.
yeah. If you are playing Dak, I guess Lamb is fine. I don't think he has a super great ceiling. I like Gallup a lot. His usage has actually been pretty good there. And we didn't talk about Pierce, and I don't think it's Pierce week, which is exactly when Pierce week is going to probably happen.
Programming note: Cardi does have a little bit of a dome boner for Pierce. I don't know why. Easy knows
Oh
why
yeah,
because
that's
Cardi's bad. But
yeah,
anyway,
yeah. We've only got 2 games in domes. That was one of them, and this is the second. 51.5 point total. The Lions are actually 2 point favorites over the one loss, or is it 2 loss? I think it's one loss. Minnesota Vikings. 51.5 total. Both teams, like the Lions, are the second highest scorer on the slate. The Vikings are pretty up there, and there's just kind of chalk everywhere, but especially around Amon-Ra, Swift, Justin Jefferson, Thielen, Hawkinson. Are you going to be making any lineups where you full fade this game, or are you going to have a piece? And like, I think that's the most interesting question. Do you have to play someone
no.
from here in every lineup?
So I mean, I don't think there's a real answer to that question. I could tell you what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Um,
People want to know
I'm
what you're
kind of keeping this game semi-contained. Like, I'm going to stack this game up every which way but loose, and then there's going to be other lineups where I literally don't play any pieces of this game in case it just turns into one of those divisional second time. We watch the tape, we learn stuff. Detroit's defense is better. I still think this game is still live to go off, for this total, go over this total. I'm sure Minnesota is, insulted about this Vegas line thing and is going to be fired up.
Mm,
But the answer is no. I am running some Jefferson, Amon-Ra minis and other stuff, but I definitely have lineups that do not have a single player from this game. But I'm
yeah.
I'm just doing that on purpose because this game is really interesting being a 1 o'clock game, right? Being the
Hmm.
51 and a half game
For
because
sure. For sure.
nobody's gonna have any beneficial information before going into this game.
Correct.
It is what it is. So I do want to have lineups that are live for this game to just not get there. I mean,
Yeah.
and again, we've talked about this before, but like these guys need to do, if you play 4 or 5 players from this game at the prices that they're at, like they have a lot of work to do.
They're
Like,
expensive. Yeah, for the most
yeah,
part.
they have a lot of work to do. So if this game doesn't go off, or the the other fear is Jamal Williams, right? Like, I do
Yeah.
not play Jamal Williams. I'm not interested in playing Jamal
No,
Williams.
you
But
can't.
if he falls into the end zone 2 or 3 times, that really really
Yeah, this
hurts
game is
the
dead.
players from this game getting there.
Yeah. Yeah, this game is dead. Well, at least the Lions are dead. Because Amonra, his like his role is just insane. He has by far the best
Right.
floor on the slate, and he is not far from having the best ceiling. Like the work that he gets. But if Jamal is scoring 3 touchdowns, then like Amon-Ra's ceiling is capped at 10 for 100 or whatever, 23 points, which actually you think you'd sign up for, but like 23 points at 7,800 is like not guaranteed to get you in there. So like Amon-Ra is going to need to score in order for you to want to play him. But like I think like this is like the chalky way that I would build this team. Like I do think Swift is going to get steamed. That like you're taking on a lot more uncertainty than people are giving it credit for with Swift, because people are excited to play Swift, and we finally got the first indication that he's out of, like, maybe out of the doghouse, finally healthy, whatever. So I'd be careful about playing Swift.
This is another fake sharp versus real sharp thing, right? Like the fake sharp thing is like, oh, Swift got his rollback. Swift is back. He got his usage. And it's just like, yeah, I get it. He looked really good and we're all super excited. And he may do that again. But also, he may just not do it again. And Justin Jackson gets 8 touches. Like we don't know. So when you add ownership to it, the fake sharps play into it and the real sharps kind of play around it.
I don't know, like this is maybe I'm getting distracted by something that doesn't matter, but the Bengals were 6-point favorites when we started talking, and now they're down to 3-point favorites. So I don't know if like Joe Burrow is out or something weird. So keep an eye on that. And if anyone in the chat wants to keep us posted on like if any news comes out around that game, that's actually pretty important as it relates to Mixon and I guess Burrow as well. But back to this game, what's interesting, like I'm super curious to find ways to play this game where it is a shootout, but you just get it slightly different. So I think like Thielen and Hawkinson are not that, right? Because they're like comfy prices where, man, I don't know that you're going to need Thielen or Hawkinson unless they score 2 touchdowns, like 1 touchdown, and they're just like, they're fine, but they're not going to be the reason you win. They're just like 1 touchdown for either of them, and they're just like, they're just fine. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know that you're going to need them unless they score 2. And Dalvin is interesting because 7,300 is pretty cheap for the role that he has. He has a really good role, but Detroit, they had their bye in week 6. Then week 7, they played the Cowboys. They gave up like 11 points to Pollard and like 15 points to Zeke or something like that. And since then, they've not a single running back has gotten 10 points against them for 7 weeks. So
yeah, they fired a fall guy at that time as well.
Oh yeah.
They probably did. They probably changed something.
Yeah. So are you scared of
Cincinnati news?
Yeah. So are you scared? I don't know if you're scared of that, but I do like Dalvin because I think he's a squeezed candidate because sharp guys want to play the pass side of this game. So I kind of do like Dalvin just as like a good touchdown bet.
I have quite a bit of Dalvin. Sorry, to get into this game, like I am playing every piece of this game except Madison Osborne and except Jamal Williams, Josh Reynolds, Brock Wright. I love DJ Shark.
Yeah, Chark
within this game. I don't like him as a one-off or anything outside of this game, but I do think he's a great piece within this game at that 9% ownership, especially with Minnesota's weakness is their safety, those corners and safeties.
They're terrible.
Like, he's one of these guys that can benefit from a script where DeAndre Swift is cooking and Amon-Ra is getting those targets across the middle. Like DJ Shark can punish during that environment.
All right, since you line only move 1 point. I like Chark. 4,300 is a good price. I think if you're playing stacks, there's worse ways to lose money than to play Josh Reynolds and KJ Osborne. Because at 3,400 and 3,500, Like they're only like 2 points worse projected than Chris Moore and Kendall Hinton, right? Are going to be projected for 9 points and they're like 7. So if you're playing game environments and you want to get different, like Josh Reynolds played almost every snap last week. So I don't know that Jameson Williams, like the Lions have, and I talk about this, like the Lions this year have shown us like guys are injured. They'll come back for 1 or like 2 or even 3 weeks with like very limited roles. And like, so I don't think Jameson Williams is going to come in and he's like 4,400. If he was 3K, people are going to be talking themselves into it. But like Josh Reynolds played like 60 plus snaps last week. And earlier this year, he did have a legitimate role. So if you're playing this game to be a shootout, I think there's worse buttons to click than a 1% owned Josh Reynolds. Again, like a million. Same thing with Osborne too. Is leverage on the field a lot. And like, if you want to play, like it wouldn't, if you're playing a double stack here, don't like click Chris Moore, just click Osborne and Reynolds at 1%, I think is a sharp way to play a milli type field.
Yeah, I'll clarify further that I have no problem with people doing that. I think those are decent plays. It is surprising, normally that cheapest guy, that third guy gets a little steamed because they get carried by a game environment like this. So it's weird that they're not getting carried by it. So I totally think they're fair as that second guy in your stack.
Yeah.
I'm just playing things a little different today.
Yeah. Thielen versus Hawk is one where my gut brings me to Hawk because I'd rather tackle tight end, but I think sharper fields are going to be doing that too. So generally, I do think I probably just want to be under them because I don't know that either of them has a ceiling. It's one of those, like you get a touchdown and you still only get 15, 16 points and, it's whatever. But it's a good game environment for sure. If you can play this game without Justin Jefferson, I think that I like JJ a lot. But if you can play it without Justin Jefferson, that's an interesting way to get different. Jacksonville, Tennessee, not a good game environment here, but 41 point total. Jacksonville at Tennessee, 4 point or 3.5 point dogs. Derrick Henry's going to be owned and pretty much nobody else in this game, probably rightfully so.
Actually, this is one of these super not sexy games. Like I'm just going to play some Derrick Henry because it's such a smash spot. I hate the ownership. We've already talked about Chig. I think you're fine playing Chig or Hooper as leverage off of steamed Chig. And then I have a few cutesy lineups. I think I have like 4%. I'm 150 maxing. I think I have 4% Trevor Lawrence stacks. So, Christian Kirk at 6,600. I think I don't know who was talking about it, but that's a little bit of an awkward price for him.
Oh, yeah,
but he definitely has a ceiling that is worthy of that price. And Tennessee is definitely a defense where a receiver can hit his ceiling. So I'm going to play out some Trevor Lawrence, Christian Kirk stacks with Zay or Marvin Jones with Henry coming back on the other side. Who knows? I don't know. I'm not going to play any Evan Ingram. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
And I'm not playing ETN either. Just he's in a weird spot at running. There's just too much good running back stuff that I'm not interested in attacking the strength of Tennessee's defense with Travis Etienne.
Yeah, I think Zay Jones, 4,700, I think is like pretty fair price, and I do think it's a pass funnel. So he's actually shown some ceiling, which is crazy. We would talk about Zay Jones, Zay versus Marvin. Like if Zay is 10% and Marvin is 1%, like I think you definitely are going to get it in good to play Marvin there. But I think Zay is probably a better play. Christian Kirk, again, like that price is just not a price people want to click in this kind of game. But he's it's a pass funnel, right? ETN is one of those guys that I think is going to be legitimately 5% in like single entry stuff because he's just like in that price range where all the good plays are, and this is not a good game environment. So ETN's role is really good. He plays like almost all of the snaps. So I can talk myself into ETN. It's not a good matchup, but he only he's a home run hitter, right? And he has the pass game capabilities. So I think it wouldn't surprise me to see ETN gets like 20 for 100 scores and gets like 3 or 4 balls. So I like ETN just as like an ownership thing. It's not a good game environment for him. And I do like both tight ends. Hooper's listed here because he's projected marginally better, but obviously Chig too. I'm
He's
not playing
also the
anyone else
starting
outside of
tight
Saquon.
end. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
I feel like people are too hard on Zay. I mean, this guy is sitting there on John Gruden's offense for years, like,
Was he using Buffalo too, though? Right?
was
I
he?
guess that was Buffalo before they were Buffalo.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. Yeah.
Um, JM was playing Zay Jones back in Josh Allen's rookie year, I think. Philly and the Giants, 45-point total. Weather is not going to be great here in North Jersey. Giants are, what is this math? 7-point underdogs. But there's not going to be any ownership in this game, and it's the uh, third highest game total of the week.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, first things first, right? Like, is Saquon going to play? He
Oh
sounds,
yeah,
it
very
seemed
limited.
like it's not that bad. He's going to play. And then it seemed like, no, he's actually 50-50. Like, we got to see. And then when you add in additional context that they're talking about his neck, it's like, even if he does play, is that good? Like, it's a really ugly situation. And as a guy who is my number one owned quarterback, my number one amount of stacks is Jalen Hurts. Um,
Yeah,
Not having Saquon on the other side scares me quite a bit. But let's just assume he's out because I think that's what it is, right?
yeah. I don't know. I
I
don't
think
think
he's
he's going
going
to
to
play
be out.
him. I
Well,
don't think
let's
he
say
can play.
this: if he's out, is can the Giants do anything? And is Breida in play?
Yes and yes. I
Okay,
think like if you are a real running backs don't matter maxi, which I don't think you are, but the general you.
yeah,
Um, I think, and I love Saquon, obviously, as evidenced by jerseys and T-shirts and the shirt that
your
I'm
shirt right
wearing.
now.
Like, I love Saquon. I think he's one of the very few running backs that do matter, but I think Brian Dable matters more. And I think he's going to find way. Like the Giants are not going to move the ball up and down on the Eagles. Like I don't think Saquon is integral to the Giants keeping it like competitive enough. And I don't think the Giants even need to keep it competitive for Jalen Hurts to have a big game or Miles Sanders to have a big game. So
Right.
like if Saquon's out, it's not gonna the Saquon can leave and the total is not gonna nothing is gonna Vegas isn't gonna change the total in this game. So that's what I would say. Um
Okay.
maybe it makes you feel a little better about it if he's in.
Okay.
So
I still
I
have
don't
some
think it changes.
Saquon in that I'm like I need to change, or I'm kind of waiting on news, waiting for a feel. But yeah, so I'm playing a ton of Jalen Hurts today. I don't understand why we're going to get this ownership on Hurts.
Yeah, it's low.
I'm playing him with AJ Brown. I'm playing him with Devontae Smith. I'm playing him with both of them. I'm playing
Yeah.
sometimes Miles Sanders with Jalen Hurts. Um, and the only bring back I'm really interested in is Isaiah Hodgins and Daniel Bellinger. I'm
Yeah.
trying to avoid that Slayton Richie James thing.
Yeah.
Um, but Saquon being out has me reevaluating if Breida could be that, that cheap bring back, because the Hurt stuff is still expensive, even though there's
It
no
is.
ownership. You're
It
still
is.
paying a lot of money. So if you're able to bring that back with Breida and have him fall into the end zone once at 4,300, like now you're cooking.
Yeah. And like the Giants are like if Saquon's out, like they're just super thin of offensive talent. So like even though I don't think it impacts their ability to move the ball a lot,
Right.
that is 20 touches that needs to go somewhere, and they won't all go to Breida. So I do like if Saquon's out, I think Breida becomes actually a pretty good play. I don't know what he's going to be projected for, but on this slate 4,300 really does open up a lot of things for you. And like Breida versus James Cook, I'd actually probably go Breida there. I don't know that his ceiling is super super high, but he's like they actually trust him enough. Like they use him randomly, like to spell Saquon, like sometimes even at the goal line. So like
Yeah. No, he's a trusted member of their offense. Like, they
yeah.
like him.
But I like as far as bring back, and I do like Jalen Hurts. I think Devontae Smith actually has a higher target share and air yard share than does AJ Brown since Goddard's been out. So I do like Devontae Smith cheaper. And I like Bellinger as a bring back because it tackles tight end, and he's like
Yeah.
the pivot off of Delchich.
Yeah, I don't know who said it. It sounds like something Silva, or I don't know who said it, but
Yeah,
I really, really like Devontae Smith this week, but just this idea that the Giants play man almost every snap on defense is just,
hmm
I kind of giggled whenever you say AJ
Yeah,
Brown, and then you say man defense. I literally kind of smile or giggle a little bit
yeah,
because he's just such a grown ass man, and if you try and discard him at the line of scrimmage,
yeah.
like forget about it.
Yeah. Miles Sanders is going to be Miles Sanders in a blind spot at 6,200 where he's like priced cheaper than Mixon stuff and he's more expensive than Zeke and Swift. So I think you can lock in Miles Sanders or lock in that he won't be more than 10% owned. And he's a really good play because they like
Yeah,
it's a good matchup. Like the Giants defense is not really that great. 26-point total. Like Sanders has shown the 2 touchdown ceiling multiple times, and when he gets there, like he gets there in a big way. So I think there's a lot of times where Sanders gets 10 or 12 points, but he's got 30 balls. Like he scored 30 multiple times already this year in games where he scores 2 touchdowns. I think there's no reason this can't be one of them. So I really like Miles Sanders as well.
yeah, I'm in on Miles for sure.
So this should be a catch me up game, but the way that we go probably won't be. Baltimore at Pittsburgh is a 37-point total. Nobody's really getting owned here. Maybe some Huntley, Mark Andrews stuff. Any interest in this game beyond that?
Tuesday, yes. I wanted some Huntley. I wanted some Andrews. I wanted some Likely. Sunday morning, no. I have 0 players from this game, period. And I have nothing to say about it.
Well, we can't let the people off that easy. Because this is when I have to talk about J.K.
I have Baltimore's defense.
Oh yeah. Both defenses are in play. Baltimore is what 3,300 and Steelers are 2,800. Steelers are going to be chalk, easy to go to Baltimore 3,300 if it works. I really like J.K. Dobbins, man. 4K. I don't know what his ceiling is. It's one of those weeks. Do you remember? I want to say it's like week 5, give or take. Where before running backs started getting underpriced, where it was like, this is bad running back week. And if I can get 15 points or like 14 points out of my stone minimum guy, I'm just betting that nobody gets to 30. Right. And I think it could be like that, where it's like, give Derrick Henry, give Mixon, give Dalvin 20 points. And if I can get 12 out of J.K. Dobbins, I think I'm going to be winning. Right. So Dobbins, I have like an anytime touchdown on him at like 3-1, I think is a good bet. It's uncertain. I don't think if we get news out of it, I don't think he's going to get steamed. So keep an eye out. It's not a great game environment, but like the Ravens do want to run the ball. And like J.K. Dobbins is their lead guy when he's healthy. I don't think they would bring him back for no reason. So I do like Dobbins like at 5%. Like not going to smash him. It's Millie stuff.
I don't hate it, but as Randy Jackson famously said, like it's no for me, dog. I'm just not getting there. Yeah. But I don't hate it at all. I think that everything you said is accurate and is good process.
Yeah. And then Deontay versus Pickens, like they're both it's the same price. Like Deontay, like projection spreadsheets, like Deontay more, the like trust your gut guys will like Pickens more because he's the rookie and he's more fun and he was very, very vocal about not getting the ball. The Steelers are trying to win games though. Like that's the one thing I'll say. Like I do believe squeaky wheel is a thing. Squeaky wheel is definitely a thing with like good teams. Like if you remember, like Peyton Manning is a good example of this. Like he would like intentionally, because they would score 30 points every week, and he was like, I owe Reggie Wayne a touchdown. I owe Thomas a touchdown. Like I owe you Julius Thomas. I owe you a touchdown. Dude, it's Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett's just going to throw the ball to wherever his first read is, or second read is, and I don't think they're gonna scheme like get George Pickens to like not be unhappy. Like Tomlin just needs to find his way to get to 500 this year so he can move on to next year.
Right.
So that's why
I totally agree with that. I'm not big on that narrative. Baltimore's defense is tough, so Kenny Pickett could be in for a day.
Yeah, their secondary's been like banged up, so I don't know.
That's true.
Kansas City at Denver, 44 total is actually not so bad. Kansas City, big road favorites, but not much. Like Greg Dulcich, obviously, is going to be pretty owned. Hinton is going to get some. Judy and Latavius are going to get some, like 10, 12, 15%, like max, because Greg exists. Like, how many people are going to play 2 Broncos or 3 Broncos? So, like, that's why it's not going to, no one else besides him is going to be really on this game.
Yeah, this is a game where I'm not building anything from this in terms of hand building and single entry and stuff like that, but I am 150 maxing this week, so I am playing some Rust stacks. Like, give me Rust with Judy, and then you can use Dulcich or Hinton or something like that. And then I'm having it bring back with only Pacheco or Kelsey. Not not playing Patrick Mahomes at all, and not playing Patrick Mahomes receivers at
0.
all. I just Denver's just not a defense that you really want to play opposing stack against. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
and
just don't like it.
if I was playing Pat, I'd just play it with Kelsey because it's like a super different build. And you could play you could play two tight end that way. You could play Mahomes, Kelsey, Dolchich, Mahomes, Kelsey, Judy, Hinton. Like you could play two Broncos on those teams. Like that's the only way that I would play it. I'm not into like
Yeah, I think it
Tony's
works.
out. Tony's out, but I'm not really super into these receivers at these prices.
This
Besides
just feels like
Kelsey.
a spread the ball around. Everybody have a nice day and just get there, kind of, sort of get there, but don't smash anything.
Yeah.
Also, Travis Kelsey, 14%. That's a meme. Like, he's not getting double digits. No way.
Yeah, I think 10 to 15 is probably the right range. Pacheco is at that price range where he's like just cheaper than the guys everyone wants to play. So I think like from an ownership perspective, I think it definitely makes sense. The absolute ceiling has not been there in like the Andy Reid era for Kansas City running back. Like, but Pacheco's actually getting legitimately really, really good usage. So even though the matchup isn't that great, Vegas still tells us that Kansas City is going to score 3 or 4 touchdowns. So if
Yeah.
Pacheco gets like 2 of them, the frustrating thing is that McKinnon gets like enough usage to make Pacheco matter less, but not enough usage to make himself matter.
Right. Are
If
you buying
McKinnon,
into the J Mac is only around for like playoff atmosphere football, and
oh
he
dude,
doesn't play
yeah,
against the
well, if
lowly
we're doing playoff
Denver
state,
Broncos?
yeah, because I guess we'll talk about it at some point, but like if we're doing playoff stuff, like McKinnon is a super sick play in like small slates, but you can't play him at this. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, and I like what's the Chiefs defense? Oh, they're pretty expensive. They're 39. Like as a price pivot off Dallas, like maybe, but I don't know. Um, any Latavius because like Latavius is one of those guys. Yeah, I don't think there's any ceiling here. Latavius is one of those things where like you can get it right where he gets like all the usage, which I don't think he will, by the way, because Mike Boone is back and I think Boone steals some of the pass work. So if Latavius goes like for 80 yards and scores, like he still might not matter. So I think I don't like to play guys where like everything goes right and it still doesn't matter.
So Latavius Murray's projection on your sheet there is 13.3. And I feel like you have a very, very, very good argument that his ceiling is also 13.3.
It could be, yeah.
Like, that's just
Yeah.
there's no ceiling in this situation.
Yeah.
Mike
That's
Boone's in his second week. It's a
yeah.
losing game script. It's bad. It's
Yeah.
no way.
And I like him like the Chiefs, like the matchup versus the Chiefs is not amazing, but the Broncos are probably going to get pushed to pass more than they want to. So for that reason, like that's why Hinton is a thing. The thing that I'll note is because Sutton is out, Hinton and Judy are both like slot guys, and one of them's going to have to play outside. And it looked like last week when Sutton went out, Hinton was actually playing more outside, which makes like which he's not good at. He's Kendall Hinton is like a fringe NFL player, let alone and like fringe slot receiver, let alone an outside receiver. So I'm not super into it. Like the price makes it work.
Either way, he's on 3 of my best ball teams. So
And maybe you'll get him as your quarterback Taysom thing. Tampa Bay, San Francisco, 37.5 point total. Or he's going to tell you that this game is more exciting than that. Go ahead.
I mean, maybe I made it up, but I'm playing a lot of this game. I'm playing Brock Purdy's my third most used quarterback. I'm going to play a lot of Brock. I'm going to tell you a very, very quick story about Brock Purdy.
Please don't
They
read the
drafted
Negotiator
him to
article.
be the backup to Trey Lance. That's why they drafted him, because there's this narrative that it's good to have a quarterback that has some similar traits that can run a similar offense to your main quarterback. And then obviously, as Mr. Irrelevant, he's not ready to play in week 1 or week 2 whenever Trey Lance got hurt. He's a project. Like, there's a lot of work to do, right? Like, he regressed every year in college. But I think Shanny believes in him, and I think he's been, warming up the practice squad for weeks and weeks and weeks. And Shanny could have turned to Josh Johnson, a veteran that can run a base offense. He could have tried to get Baker, but he said no. Let me bring Brock Purdy up, and Brock Purdy comes out and balls. And I'm telling you, the Trey Lance offense been reinstalled, and it's Brock Purdy week. Let's go.
Sell yourself a story in MME. I don't know what the app's like. What is the ceiling?
20.
Yeah.
Hard 20.
Yeah. So that's tough. Like, I'd almost like, if you want to say Kittle at 4,300 is a good play, absolutely. Debo at 6,100. Here's the thing. The difference between Jimmy offense and Brock Purdy offense, actually, maybe it's more similar than you think. Like, Shanny knows he does, like, Brock Purdy's not going to go out and win him this game. So, and he knows he needs to scheme the ball into, like, his guys' hands. So that means, like, CMC at 13%, I think, is a good play. And I think that Debo is a really good play, especially if he's at 4 or 5%. I think Dink flag planted him. So maybe he comes in.
I just think Shanny is the master at this quick 1-2 reads, dump it off to CMC, like training his quarterback to quick 1-2 reads. And then when you think about it, who's going to be his first and second read? You're talking about Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and George Kittle. Any one of those guys on that first look can take it to the house. Like,
of course.
This is a yak team. Like this is the definition of yak. So it's not like Birdie's gonna throw that 50-yard Trey Lance deep ball to Danny Gray or whatever. It's like this 8-yard crosser to Debo, and he goes to the house.
Yeah,
So it is what it is. It's a leverage play. It's a flyer. It's definitely MMA. I'm gonna play a little bit of single entry just for the lulls, but especially with the way that his team's priced, and also the other side of this is that we just watched Tampa on national television. Like, they're so bad, dude.
They are.
Like, they're so bad. They cannot hang with this San Francisco team, regardless of this quarterback situation.
The defense isn't bad.
I just like it.
Yeah. In MME, I think it's fine. I do think you want to be over on Debo. I think you want to be over on Kittle and maybe even CMC as well. And Godwin has, like, the Amon-Ra usage, except that in a weird way, Tom Brady as his quarterback is so much worse than Jared Goff as Amon-Ra's quarterback. Like, Godwin gets, like, if you go back, like, since he played week 1, got banged up, left for a bit, came back. And, like, since he came back, he's gotten 8 targets in every single game, and he's gotten like 12, 13 target games. So I really like Godwin. It's just a bet on the game environment. Obviously, both defenses are very in play. They're both in that, like, 32, 2,900. Like, so I like having pieces of this game, whether it's offense or defense. I don't want to overstack it because, again, it's 37 points, but there's, like, a lot of firepower here. It's just a matter of
of course my narrative is, like, I think this game has a chance to be one of those games that exceeds its Vegas total expectations. I think that can exist,
Yeah.
And I also really, really like the San Francisco defense, especially with Bosa playing. I'm sure he'll be limited, but in pure passing situation stuff, he'll be in there.
Yeah. I like both defenses at their prices. Last game, Carolina's at Seattle, 44.5 total. Seattle small, actually, like, surprisingly small favorite over the Sam Darnold led team. I think Geno and Lockett might get some steam. They're projecting pretty well as projections change throughout the week. Travis Homer may or may not be a thing. DJ Moore. What do you got here?
Yeah, I mean, I think, so I'm MMEing. I think Geno's my third most owned quarterback. He's up there. I have many, many, many Geno lineups, and I'm very interested in double stacking Geno. Of course, I don't have any singles, and both receivers and Fant are in the mix, and I also am double stacking him with Homer as one of them. I do think that Homer is live for 10 carries and over 5 targets. I think there's even a world where there's, like, the 10 targets underneath stuff. Carolina's pass defense ain't that bad. They're definitely, more weak to the. Yeah, I'm thinking of the other side. Anyway,
Yeah.
there is a world with Pete Carroll just goes to the pure throwing offense, passing offense. Tony
He's
Jones
very low,
does
very high.
those, between the tackles, a few runs, but for the most part, we're talking about a passing game. And then
I agree.
I love Dante Foreman, Carolina Panther mini, just because the pricing opens up so much stuff on a slate where
Yeah, Panthers are
I want to play
2,200.
expensive stuff. Yeah, 22 plus 54, 7,600.
Yeah,
You cross those two out, you're just as live as anything else. I mean, Seattle's run defense is pretty bad, and
yeah,
in the
it
last
is.
5 games, I don't have the numbers pulled up, but Dante Foreman in 5 games, 3 of those has like 24, 26, and 31 carries. Like they will put the rock in his hands, and he
Yeah,
doesn't have an
yeah,
injury designation.
yeah. The thing with Foreman, oh man, is it gonna work? Yeah, like if you look only in this column,
24. Oh, I got it right. Okay.
if you look only in this column, Dante
Yeah.
Foreman is the best running back in the league. Once you start looking in this column,
Yeah.
he has 2 catches in one game and he has 2 catches in this game, but he
Yeah.
has 0 catches in
It
every.
would worry me more if those numbers were 20, 18, 20.
Yeah,
What are you
well
talking about?
they feed him,
24,
man. They
31, 26?
they do feed him, and Seattle is a very good matchup for running backs, and he's at that
Yep.
price. Like, yeah, if we had Rashad White, if Lenny was out and I was playing Rashad White, I would flip to a lot of that to Foreman. I don't think I'm playing one off Foreman, but I do like this game environment a lot. 44.5 in this week is pretty good. It doesn't take a lot to get over that. And yeah, with Kenneth Walker out, I mean, Pete Carroll and Gino, like they've been passing the ball pretty decent amount already this year. And with Kenneth Walker out, I think it's only going to go up. So I actually really do like this game. And even with that, I do like the Panthers defense, not against Gino, but in other lineups, obviously 2,200. And I don't think like they'll be 10, 15%. I think they're fine at that.
Well, if they go to super pass heavy, like that's what you want in defense, right? There's a chance for a
Yeah,
pick. There's chance for the sacks. That's what
exactly.
we do. That's what we
Exactly.
do.
All right, Ori. TD needs your guys. Good for
Oh,
you.
are we about to fuck around and find out? All right, so this week I have a little bit special for you. Normally we don't like to do chalk, right? Like you want to do something a little bit off the board. But I'm going to give you a mini with chalk to help you
Okay.
play the chalk. All right?
All right.
So this week I'm going to fuck around and find out about Joe Mixon, which 30% of people are. But David Bell is going to be coming back on the other side.
Oh boy.
And he's 3,100. You're getting away from the Houston guys, the other cheap guy. You're playing a cheap guy that no one else is playing, but he's the same guy. He's the same guy. Amari Cooper is playing based on. I'm doing this with Amari Cooper playing.
Okay.
He's got a hip issue. He's on the road. We know he can't sleep on the road. I think Cincinnati is going to give them a beating. I think David Bell gets a lot of run, especially in the second half, and tries to build some rapport with Deshaun Watson. I'm taking a flyer on David Bell across from Joe Mixon only. I'm not doing him as a one-off or nothing like that. Just self-contained in this game.
Did David Bell get hurt last week?
2 weeks ago, right?
So like last week, so I like the idea, and I wish Amari was out and that we had something because David Bell played 2 snaps last week, which is the least that he's played all year.
He was coming back from an injury.
Yeah. He played 30 the week before. So yeah, if Bell is in, like that is the thing. Like the 3K thing, yeah. Cotton's right. I don't want to overthink it. Like I would love to call Ori an idiot, but this is the guy that brought you Trent Sherfield, who paid off on the first play that
you put him with Joe Mixon, and you've spent $10K, and you've knocked down 2 spots.
I get it.
It is what it is. The bet is that he's going to run 60 plays. Like he's going to be on the field a ton today because of Cooper's health and game scripts.
Yep. I'm going to go back to the game that we most recently talked about. I'm going to give you the Geno stack, the Geno double with Tyler Lockett and Noah Fant, and bring it back with DJ Moore. I think in this week, 44.5 total is very, very meaningful. A lot of the stacks that people want to play, like besides the Minnesota game, like this is only 1 touchdown away from getting to that. Last week, when Walker went down in the middle of the game, they threw the ball 39 times, which is like the second most they've done all year. They're going to lean more to the pass. I think the volume's there. I don't know if I'm scared off of DK Metcalf per se, but I do think Lockett at a bit cheaper. And Noah Fant legitimately has like some sort of ceiling. He's been like usable for like a couple weeks in a row. Like 4 weeks in a row, you've actually been pretty happy with Noah Fant relative to like how tight ends score.
Yeah,
He had
for
a
sure.
touchdown last week, and even without a touchdown, like he went 5 for 96 here, a couple like 6 point games, like whatever. So I really like knocking off. Like I love playing the tight end as part of my stack, and I really like this game environment. And you can play with Homer
Especially
too.
without Kenny.
Will
Especially without
Disley,
Kenny.
Will Disley's Q, but he is going to play. If Will
That's
Disley's
fine.
out, then like absolute pants off for no fan. But
I
I
love
am
it.
expecting Disley to play.
Especially because with Kenny, when Kenny's there, he's so live for the red zone stuff. When you take Kenny out, then Fant really becomes, a part of that red zone offense type thing. And I
Yeah.
love it. Also, just hand in the dirt, allegedly on PFF, I subscribed for 1 month just to look at their stuff and check some stuff out.
Yeah.
But allegedly, Tyler Lockett is like the matchup, like the
Oh,
matchup of all
let me look at
matchups
those.
of the week. Just FYI.
That's good.
All right.
I like
So
that.
I'm gonna give you one more fuck around and find out. Again, I'm doing the whole I'm gonna give you a piece of chalk that you already knew, but bring it back with somebody that nobody's gonna play. So play a Dallas running back. I don't give a shit what his name is. Play either one because
Malik
I'm playing
Davis.
both of them, 20% combined, and bring it back with Jordan Akins, aka
Yeah, I
the
like
the
Akins.
the Chad of all Chad, the specimen, and let's go.
Yeah,
It's a good
he's
way
a
to
big
get
boy.
different and use those running backs, and it's also again, you pair those two together, and you have a salary for two slots that's not that big, but you have one of the best plays on the slate, and then you have a nice low owned leverage guy.
Yeah, TD. Yeah, TD's
Well,
are right. He plays Texans tight end every week.
does he?
Yeah,
So he's probably
which
going to play OJ Howard, isn't he?
I don't know, man. I hope not. Yeah, I think like I don't know that anyone is gonna like absolutely win the role, but if it is any person, it will be Jordan Akins. I think he's the most likely to have some kind of ceiling. Yeah, I like that. That's a good call. Um, Here, my next go-to game, and it's painful. I don't know that the Giants are going to be able to stop Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith. But if you're going to play it with Daniel Bellinger, knock out the tight end. And I really like Miles Sanders too. So I'll actually go Hurts with
Ooh,
Devontae and
I like
Bellinger.
that
And on
name.
teams where you're not doing that, you can play Miles Sanders. I just like this game environment. Again, it's one of those, it's a 45 total. No one's playing it that way. I like Bellinger the most on the bring back. And if Saquon's out, Breida is very in play.
Easy, we are all Giants fans today. I don't care what
Yeah,
Discord says.
let's keep the game competitive and make it fun
Yeah,
for fantasy if it's not going to be fun in real life.
and let's win.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll be back next week to talk about, I think bye weeks are done, so it's going to be as full as the slate can get.
Oh yeah. Well, we do have 3 Saturday games, so yeah,
Man, perfect.
yeah. We're not going to get the
Back
full
to small.
slate, but every team's going to play. Stay tuned. Looking
All right.
forward to it.
Cheers, everyone.
All right. See you guys.